main client, two main clients of this event are not here, but I hope that David will show up very soon. And Kevin, I do see that he carefully watches the recordings. He needs to TA to support himself. So there will be several manuscripts, and we are starting with in a standard way as we did in previous years. Some of the figures, results, conclusions already within the inverse direction of the introduction of the last thing. And some of you are very experienced writers. Some are at the quite beginning stage. So please try to help each other and find weak spots. So each printout has the form on the last page, and it is all very free, and it is not mandatory, but there are some general rubrics to watch through while overviewing the figures for the manuscript. So what we know is basically cut and paste figures from recent presentations of authors. And the first question is logical organization, which means one is setting up the figures as illustrations to bring to navigate the reader to the main result, main target observable, or main target trend. And later on, when the body of looking, it is very preferred to see that the figures are already provided in a sequence to follow this logical trend, starting from the maybe schematic diagram and model to basic ground state electronic properties to something more advanced evaluation of spectral dynamics and telecom. Since all of us are doing slightly different projects, it is not possible to give the general list of code. It's not an industrial assembly, but the general direction is go from structure to product. And if some of the figures that you look through seem suspicious, seem to violate this logical suggestion, then they suggest other figures. Another part is a little kindergarten childish thing that it is very appreciated if you very appreciated by myself and by the primary author of this report that you focus, because for example, when I'm doing something, I'm getting excited and forgetting about these things. But as a reader or viewer, small font or not readable color code or small symbols irritate the viewer and make a very big barrier of accepting the data. And those of us who are doing for the first time may miss this aspect. You will see that some of the texts are unreadable. Suggested. So it is fine to be a little not aesthetical and make figures uglier than they should be, in a sense of really viewing. So if text or symbols are exaggerated, for most journals it looks like classics. Sometimes technical editors shrink figures to a smaller size. The huge symbols and fonts will still allow to recognize what is meant. Another thing that to those who are experienced in writing. So basic things that for the beginners, it's important to that each figure is accompanied by caption. This is neither one of the steps we are doing is a critical part for successful science and successful publication, but all of them are given a little shortcut and optimization of the trajectory of arriving to the manuscript that is easier to accept. And for writing detailed, possibly detailed figure captions is a big leverage and help for later formulation of the result section. So basically, one is looking on the figure and explains by words what one can see there. A little bit through this. It's very standard and useful practice to arrange more, put several pictures into one logical figure and label them as panels. So for captions, one may want to explain everything is provided. If possible, give parameters which would help to reproduce this figure. It has two values. One is like if I'm writing something, I'm not trusting the memory, I may just forget it. It could be the only place where parameters is stored. Another more idealistic that readers of the paper should be ideally should be able to produce all results. Providing technical details is a like good professional behavior helping reader to reproduce. Some writers prefer to be very short, but it is not necessary. One can guide the reader and even tell them after this figure, look at this and observe correlation. And if you see some important message, one can add it to the figure. So in some sense, whatever you put in the figure caption is to help yourself in writing the body of the manuscript later. Because organization of thoughts in a logical way and using important details is can be always a challenge. And if you have little fragment written, one can start copy pasting and then expanding the details. But it is kind of practical manual for quick completion. Some you will see that some of us were so excited that skipped the captions. Please make a favor and remind it to others. Please show them this figure. Another thing that whatever we provide in double spaced draft format will be substantially reformatted when the manuscript is accepted and processed for publication. Typically, whatever we do is zoomed out by the technical editor so that all symbols become like 2 or 4 times smaller. It is one of the reasons to exaggerate the size of the symbols, try to duplicate coding. For example, lines which are in color, it's very useful to have them also differ from each other by having them in thickness, different pattern of dashes. As time goes by, more and more papers are just produced in electronic format. It is not as critical, but still is a good practice. Another point is that when you looking at the specific figure as a reader and reviewer, it's very often that you even when look, we all are aware of mechanics and tools that we use. Something can look missed, and please consider to write if you see the figures doing it or logic from each other and make sure the figure could be helpful. Suggest to insert a figure, or if some details are providing not necessarily excessive information, then also suggest to the author to migrate figure into supporting information, because typically papers do not have more than 10 figures. 6, 7, 6 is optimal number. There is information more than that. It is very welcome to migrate from supporting information, compose the body of the results in such way that additional details further is going to the supporting information, which is even this. How many cards did you print? 5. Okay, excellent. That's a good news. You did miss a little guide through, but it will be recorded. You can watch it. So from now on, I'm going just to distribute and suggest that we read them one by one. So most of this most of these printouts do have a form for that provides this form feedback. If you're missing a pen, I can share. And if you're missing one form, but if you have your champion who doesn't need any correction, you can still hold the form for table stuff. If he will not be the champion. Who knows? I haven't seen what you did. Maybe empty page. We have only 2 cards.
I don't know how that happened.
No worries. We'll just circle. Okay, yeah. Anyone else wants to comment? If you want to show it.
Aaron covered most of what I saw.
Okay.
On figure 3, do you have just discuss A and B according to the caption instead of A through F? I'm assuming that's just a typo of what our old thing B should be F, but.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
I have a question. Can you go to figure 4?
Yes. If you have something written, you can show it.
What's all that black text written in there? That 0 equals 0. You have
ask the author.
Huh?
Ask the author.
Right. Fascinating. What's all that black text in the graph? That 0.
It's just values.
Right. So do you absolutely need that in there?
No.
All right. I would advise like taking it out if you don't need it.
Okay. Is it possible, like figure 1? It looks like these figures represent theory that is used as a background, and maybe one can put the units and values for this. Be more simple. Values of k sub x and k sub y, in which range they are changing. So it is not a question to the how the calculations was done, but to the background theory. I think it is Elton Volter than atomic units. Graphene has 0 gap and is already it is in the range of infrared and visible. If it would be 0.6 atomic units, it would be really transparent. Even this zero gap, it would, like, graphite is black, and it shows that it has absorption close to zero. So I would put values and maybe show that the zero comes through the plane. It looks like the conversion from atomic units to kilovolts has been done twice. Like it was converted once and then once again, and then if I multiply this number by 27, then comes to this numbers. So probably it should be maybe 7 times smaller. This 9 volts for the states is too much. Huh? We should double check, but if it is atomic units, something is wrong. I would believe that the conversion has been performed twice. We can check in private, but these numbers are suspicious. It should be something within an field. So all these orbitals, some of them are more localized, some of them are more delocalized. And if it is possible, it would be really great to bring a quantitative measure of delocalization. And this is open question. It could be like correlated to the total angular momentum or to inverse participation ratio, like wave function to the first power and wave function to the second power integrated for each orbital. And for localized orbitals, it would be close to 1, for delocalized, it would be close to 0. Here, Aaron has covered. I wonder if the trajectory goes in the opposite directions, which will be a little counterintuitive, but since it is quantized particle that goes mostly through delocalization in all directions. This seems possible. But when I was looking through this image, it looks like Py projection is 0 initial point of time for this trajectory. But I may want to look at this may go to the main text explaining all these figures. So if possible, one may add some materials for analysis for delocalization. So everyone is invited to return the comments to the author. Okay. Yes.
I don't really see anything wrong with this figure, but something just feels wrong with it to me.
Kevin is not responsible. He was responsible for this figure about 10 months ago. Now, without his consent, I borrowed it from his course recording public here. But if you have some creative suggestions, please.
I don't. It just, something feels wrong with it, and I can't for the life of me figure out what. So for these figures, you just have a lot of empty space. And you're also missing an axis label on figure 3. And you're missing captions throughout as well. some more axis labeling. What's up?
So do you know any commands that I can use in BOSS or started with?
Are we talking about these figures yet?
Yeah. You know
Okay.
any commands that I can use to like change the X and Y axis range?
Change it in the when you
Like, how do I change it in
when you plot it in
plot?
the new plot.
GNU Pro.
In the new Pro, there's a set axis size or set axis label. I'd have to look at the program to see the exact code again, but you can tell it how big to make it.
All right, so GNU prog, then I type what I want to plot, and then comma, and then I enter set axis, and then whatever range I want.
No. You copy the GNU Pro script into your directory.
Okay.
Open it with editor like VI and manually edit what you want to change there.
All right.
And save, and then type GNU prog, and it will redo the figure with the parameters that you want.
Okay.
And then one of those parameters will allow you to set the axis size. And there's all sorts of other parameters you can look at as well.
Understood.
It's very, very short script, maybe 4 lines.
All right.
They're sitting in the bin. There's actually one that has your name attached to it. So for this figure, once again, our missing axis label. Yeah.
We all understand what it is.
Yeah.
Not that we lost in trend.
Yeah, there's several places where we understand immediately what it is. It's just you're missing it. So here, I'm not entirely sure what orbital corresponds to what.
Mm-hmm.
So I just counted out and put when I did this, I just counted out how many there were and asked if the middle was the band gap. And I wrote that down, which is slightly cut off here, but that's what my writing is saying.
Okay.
So you just don't have these labeled as to what deliverables are. And then on this one, you have what appears to be a white color and an orange color. And I was wondering if there was some difference between them. And then these two, you have
Different style.
different size of atoms compared to the rest of them.
So one day when we do all those figures in the same style, it's like 3 minutes per figure. Okay, per panel.
So once again, might have the same comment for both. Once again, we obviously know what the difference is because we've seen it presented several times, but there's no indication of what any of the differences are.
Okay. Let me
Yeah.
so putting this information into the figure graphically would not match the journal format because the panels are already small. So it is the reason why one labels panels with like Roman letters and then writes all details in the captions. Okay. Because space in journals costs something, and if you put too many explanations in the legend of figure, it will be not possible. So it's just question, not scientific question of format.
So then for your position ones, you appear to have your model off to the side, which I'm assuming is meant to be the same size as the figure, but it's not indicating that it is. All of them are coming off at an angle. I'm assuming the figures are I'm guessing 100 angstroms. The model figures, because that's what the blue figures I think are meant to be as 100 angstroms.
Mm-hmm.
not quite sure as I can't read blank axis, but. So I'm assuming that these should be lined up exactly with the figures. I didn't put anything down for the last two figures. The major thing, though, that I often think of is they all have the exact same styles of lines, styles of markers. So you all of them use circles, all of them use the short dot block for the line.
Anyone wants to add more comments to Kevin's work? You got something to advise? Huh? You don't want to declare it in public? More glowing things to suggest. I'll add, so if I would be writing this work, I would add the fourth figure or electronic structure of both sodium and iodine, and upon formation of the interface, it's highly likely that iodine orbitals will be empty and sodium orbitals will be filled, so it will be a charge transfer on the interface and put excitation with the record shifting. I am echoing the suggestion of David about the space. And scientifically, you are encouraged to approach Aaron and Yulin and ask them to show what is in detail and how to do it.
Okay.
So please try to schedule a visit or exchange emails. Right now, the gap and absorption look in the red range. But it immediately contradicts with the next figure, which shows that at some temperature, I don't know which one, the gap gets to zero. So, which means that at realistic temperatures, the absorption maximum will be not at 2 electron volts, but much smaller. And the NdPl electrodynamics photoluminescence average of optical particles along trajectory would partially fix this problem and make it more logical. So it's a relatively simple procedure, but please take responsibility of testing it.
Got it.
Scientifically, it's interesting how there is a pattern. All orbitals are changing the same range and coincide with a period of oscillations for lead and ferro. I'm echoing what David said, but in addition, there is an interesting trend that one may have, so that if one looks in the gap area in all these temperatures, as we go to higher temperature, at lower temperature, there is no activity near the gap, and as this temperature increases, so it already prompts that this increasing temperature, the rates will become higher. But I need to compose a one exceptions before they thank you much for making this bend out code. You may invest time into working on access and doing waterfall with bend out with also energy pop and Z range. Then the access will be ready to post. If you don't have time for this, you may just manually change the radius. Currently, the mean of this axis is Z position along the nanowire axis, and this two ranges correspond to iodine group and sodium group. You can immediately see that the lower range corresponds to occupied and fair range with orbital index 295. So most of the occupied correspond to spatial range Schellenberg, and most of unoccupied correspond to space range with Heidelberg.
Okay.
It is an interesting observation. Most of orbitals follow this trend, and is worth of mentioning in the topic because your subsequent results are based on this trend. And this figure, in some sense, summarizes what is shown here. That those are just few short tables, and here it is a summary over a broader range of tables. Then add captions. And this needs captions. Okay, everyone is invited to return written feedback to Kennedy.
So I guess my first comment is it's really hard to understand what's the meaning of the top three mechanics, or to interpret it, like what you are trying to achieve in these figures.
So if you go by column, like A, B, and G would all be the same data plot. So the top row is just a diagram interprets.
So top row is the key for interpreting. First three panels are key to read the next three panels. And for second, so A here corresponds to here, B here corresponds to here, C here corresponds to here, D here corresponds to here, and the angle will be so here corresponds to this. Yeah. But it's continuous. It's completely legitimate criticism that one may work on writing closer to the planes and cars physics. Fine, better way to express.
Also, maybe you may consider to change the legend because right now it's really difficult to find out the checklist.
Oh, like use longer dashes and thicker dots.
Yeah. I think the problem is I try to keep everything color coordinated, but when you plot the lines, they're too similar. So I'll just have to find a different color scheme.
And you may brag about this organizational achievement, like writing the caption in the text. The same color code is used throughout the whole paper.
So here I can have some questions. So this is the spin polarized calculations, right?
So those are spin orbit.
Non-coherent.
So they're constrained.
What's the meaning of triplet and singlet? Cosines?
Just a second. Aaron will answer in a second, but I want to give credit to you. You are asking word by word the same question as David Mitchell asked to Aaron on the conference.
Yeah, so technically spin orbits, like it should be singlet and triplet, or combination of them. But I guess VAST doesn't explicitly compute those, so we can show like projections of singlet and triplet states. So it's constrained PFT. So you constrained it to a singlet or a triplet configuration.
Can you tell the protocol, how do you do it mechanically? Do you constrain magnetic moment correspond, or you use constrained DFT for spin polarized and then inherit it to spin polarized?
Right. So everything's optimized using spin polarized in a singlet or triplet configuration. And then like the charge density is fed in the non-collinear calculation.
Here the question is, what's the difference between this figure and the previous figure?
So the previous ones, those are ground state optimized, so not including temperature. Whereas those, so you see the vertical dashed lines in panels A and B.
This is that's the space at this specific time.
Right. I did that to try to understand what those, like that blue line in the middle of the fluctuations chart was.
Another question is, what's the meaning of the trap?
So it's,
If you go to your ground state, you can also find this kind of trap line.
so I guess, so when I started MB, it's, like you look at 0, like it's still in the ground state. So it should have a good geometry, but then as soon as I started the dynamics, like one of the surface ligands popped out.
Did you go far, or just maybe make a small like 1.5 factor of the original coordinates?
Or like it's just floating around, so literally even.
So it doesn't depart to the drastically far distance. It's floating very close during absorption, but the bond length doesn't correspond to chemical ionic bond anymore.
Right.
Okay.
But I guess my question is, if you just take a look at the geometry optimized damping states, you still have this kind of feature, right?
So you look at the energy. Should we, like the trap state should be deeper than.
Okay.
Can I try to interpret my feeling? Here, this energy range is half fit, because like there is more than one order. And there is degeneracy. As we go along to nuclear trajectory, the degeneracy breaks and one of the states goes lower in energy. So, and then this half, instead of half fit, it's completely filled. It moves to lower energy, and then empty things, which keep rising. This one is unsymmetric. Iron similarly for trap, because the charge density is trapped in this vicinity of the departed fluid. Okay, thank you much. Anyone wants to add to?
So in kind of what Ewan was talking about. I'm having real trouble visualizing this one. The other two, until Dimitri explained it, I had no idea why they were there. But I could understand what they were trying. But this one, I'm having real trouble visualizing. So is this meant to be like a three-dimensional block here?
Yeah. So I just inherited that from my previous paper.
Okay.
But I'll have to edit it because initially there were two features I was trying to describe, but in this one, like you see, some of them are faded and some of them are solid. So I had two versions of those, whereas the other one, the outsides were. So yeah, that's not going to be the final product. That one.
And my other question or comment, whatever you want to call
Your
it.
call will be disconnected.
On these figures, you have arrows.
Just a second.
Yep.
I need to just click on.
So you have arrows on that figure. Are they meant to correspond to these arrows?
Yeah, but
You may brag again. Define arrows in figure 3 and tell that the same convention is used throughout the paper.
Because I mean, you clearly have different types of arrows, and they appear to be the same as these ones.
right. Like yeah, my last paper I only needed like two types of arrows. So I only had two, but now I have four. And there's not really four types of arrows. So I just have to find another like symbol to try to get across what I'm trying to say.
And some crazy readers read materials in the opposite direction from backwards. So you may mention it in the subsequent figures that for definition of meanings of arrows, look for to the figure 1. So that the reviewer doesn't have an excuse to complain about it. Okay. Anyone more comments to Aaron's work? In the light of interest of everyone to the traps, would it be reasonable to do the same thing for the trap? You decide. It's not a request. It's just an option.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe for supporting information, just to satisfy curiosity. Here is it's not criticism. It's an applaud. This image is really cool, and one day you may ask you to make a group meeting teaching how to generate these figures. It should be like a couple of lines, but this is angle distribution function, and practical meaning for in context of this material is that if it will be absolutely cubic structure, then there will be peak only on 90 degrees. But as soon as the angles are bending, there appears deviation from this cube. So it's a good indication of phase transformation, which can be eventually facilitated by photo excitation. So it's, although the changes here are not drastic, but it is really cool tool. I bet things here are for 0K, and probably this is for degenerate things that we discussed earlier.
Mm-hmm.
If you evidently see that the ligand is departing, when you want to quantify it and add data for binding energy, like if you remove this ligand in ground state, and if you remove it under the constraint of the excited state for this simultaneous polaron, like if total energy under this Ferrier condition, and it is expected that binding energy will be much more, since it maybe comparable to thermal energy.
Mm-hmm.
And it is not breakthrough result for like top journal, but it is standalone energy is sufficient for like mid-rank journal as an observation. You already have a very valuable data without any additional calculations that you may utilize and explore further. So if you tabulate distance between this carboxylic group and lead and put the total energy and oscillator strength as function of this distance, it could be an interesting and important data for photo decomposition. Like as the distance is, you do not need to manually scan it. You already have a trajectory that scans different values of the distance, and then you tabulate the total energy and oscillator strengths as function of it, and it will be sufficient to speculate about photo decomposition and shortening of the oscillator strengths, like making the material darker or not. It's still interesting. And likely, if you eventually repeat it at liquid nitrogen temperature, this effect may disappear. There will be no trap formation. So suggestions are to add a figure with dependence on of total energy and oscillator strengths of ligand from surface. And same as for Kevin, it could be interesting to practice in DPL or maybe molecular dynamics absorption, to average absorption over the whole trajectory and see, just for curiosity, how it will look like. Because here the trap is bright, which is a little counterintuitive.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's just a lucky step, and on all other steps it will be not as bright. Are there more comments? If no, everyone is invited to return the written feedback to Aaron. Do you have comments on Jeroen's work?
Yeah.
Would you like to show them? Do you have any comments on Jeroen's work?
I had one.
Okay. Just put it in the projector.
Okay, so I looked at this. The only thing that the only thing I could think of was for these green graphs right here, put the x-axis on here, and then other than that, I can't think of any other corrections to put on here.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Kevin, for being brave and giving the. I wish all reviewers will give the same feedback, telling it is an excellent paper and nothing can be made better. It is not clear where is Fermi energy. One can guess that it is zero here, but then one may want to label energy minus Fermi. And one also may label, add some labels, either systematically label all peaks or at least show what corresponds to absorption, because later on it doesn't depend on field. On this diagram, Fermi energy is also important to show that where it is it is a question to everyone. Is it clear that the colored boxes are forbidden zone, are like gap area for each material? Did everyone got it? Because I got it while reading, but originally, typically people use colored boxes for like occupied, unoccupied bands and show nothing for band gap area. And here it is also possible, but it is not so common, so one may need to just maybe highlight it. Maybe no one cared about it, but it would be cool. Excitation within charge transfer. These data are for WASP electric field, but one can mimic them by using dipole perturbation correction. If one would put them here, it will be of absolutely cool scientific value to prove right or wrong, proof or perturbation theory right or wrong. And probably near this zero it will coincide, and as further away it will diverge. For these points, it is one may summarize them and put these points also in this figure heading another axis and show that with positive increase of electric field, gap drops and absorption increases. It looks like in a good correspondence, and one can interpret it. Rates of relaxation are really cool, but since the main goal of the paper is to assess the charge transfer, it's probably one can try to find expectation value of position of electron and hole and then feed them into exponential. I understand that sometimes it is very far from exponential and it will give some noise, but at least trying would be matching the main goal of the paper. And then it would be really cool to put this like energy of relaxation for energy and for electron and hole, and then same style of rates for charge transfer. If relaxation is echoing the charge transfer, if they are correlated, then it will be the same numbers or at least same trends. But if there is something opposite, it could be a sign to focus on a specific excitation or specific value of field. Please do whatever you find appropriate, but it is just an option. And then the data in these tables eventually can be summarized graphically, because then it is easier to analyze that as field increases, the rate of relaxation also increases, which I don't know yet how to interpret, but it is what the table is showing. More comments to Yuan's figures. If no, everyone is invited to submit written comments. So the next time, I suggest we keep going over the sections of the paper. If no one requests to do a second revision of figures, I suggest we'll go for results section.
I plan to ask for a revision of figures like next week, so I'm going to do a revision, and I plan to ask like feedback on that next week.
Let's do. You are the only one. Is David? Do you want to do figures for the second time?
Probably third.
Anyone really rushing to complete results in 1 week?
I mean, so my goal for next week is to like revise my figures and then have a first draft of my results section.
We cannot do, it will be too much if everyone does both figures and results. We need to do something concurrently. Anyone really rushing to do results except Kevin? Okay, okay. Then next, let's plan results in 2 weeks from now. And basically, it is if you do not know where to start, supposingly you do have very good polished set of figures with captions. Then for results section, you start by copy pasting figure captions in a plain text, and then read it over and over and try to remove basic things that are already told there and compose it into continuous text. But it is my postman recipe. If you are skilled and inspired writer, you may find better plan. But basically, results scan attention of a reader from figure 1 subsequently to all figures and describe what one observes there. So it is a plan. But this is in 2 weeks. We do a little postpone. Next week, though, please try to update figures. If you really want them, if you really want to have feedback, bring them. If you think you're fine, you just come as a reviewer. Update of figures is requested for Kevin and David, and Aaron, Yoon, and Fatima. Feel free to, if you really want to hear feedback on figures once again, feel free to submit them. If no, just come to listen and edit what others are doing. And we will finish this second revision of figures in about an hour and 20 minutes, and then Kevin will give his first attempt of the oral presentation. So he got an invitation from chair of physics seminars to show his accomplishments. And it is a very big responsibility, and it is a very hard task. This is scheduled in about 3 weeks from now, and we need to let Kevin to do a couple of dry runs and help him to improve. So personally, you probably complete the figures using the feedback. This is a task number 1. This is a priority. And then you decide between results and putting slides for the presentations. But please do not start slides for presentation before you address all feedback for the figures.
Okay.
As they are done, you can copy paste improved figures and captions into your presentation and use them as a skeleton of your talk.
All right.
More questions and suggestions? If no, thanks much for investing your time and helping each other, and have a nice week. Meeting is complete. I'll stay here to chat in person if needed.